Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of Tale of the Trail, a new informative live talk show about trail running here on the Asia Trailmaster Facebook page. This is our second attempt, as you all know, as unfortunately last Friday we were hit by some unexpected technological problems. Hopefully things work better today. And at the moment it does look like that, so that's great. The first episode of the Tale of the Trail is entitled The State of Play. In the next 40 minutes, we will be talking to the event management of the next 5 races on our current ATM race calendar. Will their events still take place? And if yes, under which conditions? Or shall we say, restrictions? On air with us in chronological order will be Sammy Vu of Dalat Ultra Trail in Vietnam, Jay Jiang of Korea 50K, JP Alipio of the Cordillera Mountain Ultra in the Philippines, Philip Anthony of MUSPO Ultra, also in the Philippines, and Hadzemi Hamidi of Cameron Ultra in Malaysia. In addition, we will have a catching up chat with the 2017 Asia Trailmaster champion, Kim Matthews. That will be right at the end of this show. No matter how old you are, which generation you're from, 2020 will be a year to remember. And we've only just had the first third of it. The team behind Asia Trailmaster and myself hope all of you are keeping healthy and also happy. But now, without any further ado, let's go to Sammy Vu in Dalat for a discussion on the Dalat Ultra Trail. The event was scheduled in the middle of March, but of course was postponed to the weekend of 20 and 21 June. And we're bringing on Sammy Vu right now to our broadcast. Sammy, hello.
Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Sammy, can you tell us a little bit more about Dalat Ultra Trail? Will it take place as scheduled, or are there still any issues?
Right now, the social distancing order in Vietnam already closed, and we are slowly back to work and back to all the business are opening slowly now. So we hopefully that everything will be fine by June, and then we can the Dalat Ultra Trail will be organized as we can plan in June. But however, for this right now, the situation is very unpredictable. But we have a positive feeling that the event will happen at the postponed day.
Okay, that's great to hear. Do you expect any problems with, let's say, foreign participants, people who want to come to Vietnam? Because I believe that also the border is closed, right?
Yeah, right now the border is closed. We hopefully that the border will open soon. But next week we also have the meeting with the government in terms of like answering them how we can to control the like the social distancing and safety for everyone to joining in the event. And we will have a very special protocol for people to attending the event during those days. Like we have to have the checking of the temperature on the measuring for keep everyone to be safe during joining our event. So hopefully when we have the plan, we can share with the government and also with all the participation when they come and join with us. And we also have a very positive feeling that the border will be open by June so that everyone can come and join us this year. But anyway, anyhow, we will have the plan for anything happen, and just feel free to contact us if you have any question later on. Yeah.
Because the event was rescheduled, is there a possibility for late registrations, like people who still want to register at the last moment now, or is that not possible?
Right now, we have to say thank you to all participation to like already register, and we already show out for own distance. But there is a chance that still have the late registration for those who still want to join. For example, some of the participation they cannot attend on that day, and they contact us and they want to transfer the ticket to another people. So just feel free to inbox our Dalat Ultra Trail fan page if you need a ticket to join with us, and then we will try to figure out where we can find the ticket for you. Because like some people they don't know where they how they can transfer to other people where the people need the ticket or not. So that the answer from us. But we will not have the public late registration for those who haven't registered before.
Okay. Dalat Ultra Trail
Yep.
is, in terms of the quantity of participants, one of the highest in Asia Trail Master and in Asia overall, because last year you had more than 4,400 people. That's a whole lot of people. Do you expect that the government maybe might say no, that is too many?
This year, before we open the registration, we already report to the government that how much we will welcome the participation to join us this year. So they already approved for the number, and right now we have around like 5,500 participation to join us. So the government is very happy about the number, and we hopefully that everything will be fine, and yeah, the event will happen at the time that we plan. Yeah.
Okay, final question to you, Sammy. This year you have planned to introduce a 100K race also in the program. That is still ongoing as well? Because I believe
100K. Yeah, it's still ongoing, and one of the signature for 100 category is like our start line will be in the center of Dalat. The most beautiful place of Dalat, and then people can like though joining in 100 km, they will starting in the early morning in the most beautiful place of the center of Dalat, and then they will go through the most beautiful place of Dalat, like the Lang Biang Peak. This year we changed a little bit in the course, so you can see that you joining in the first edition, the second edition, but the third edition, you still can find the amazing about the Dalat, because we introducing almost the new race car in this third edition.
No doubt about that, Sammy. Dalat Ultra Trail is indeed a gem in the Asia Trail Master calendar. Thank you very much, Sammy, for joining us from Vietnam, and we're looking forward to hopefully all of us, joining Dalat Ultra Trail, even if it's just to celebrate the relaunch of the season here in Southeast Asia. Thank you very much, Sammy.
Thank you, Chris. See you.
All right, that was good news from Vietnam. So let's move on to the next race on the Asia Trail Master calendar, and that is Korea 50K in, of course, South Korea. Very close to Seoul, in Dongdu-cheon to be exact. And we're moving on now to Jae Jang, who is the event director of Korea 50K. Here she is. Korea, welcome this evening here on the Facebook Live of Asia Trail Master. Tell us, what is the situation for your event in South Korea? Microphone.
Okay.
Yep. Okay,
Hello.
go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, good evening. Well, I think the most important and curious thing is the race will be held on the scheduled date. And well, in Korea, the spread of the COVID-19 has been reduced a lot at the moment. And I think this is the same situation in most countries. For last 2 months, all the facilities has been closed, including the sports complex, where the start and finish venue of the race. But from now on, many things are getting back to normal step by step. So we are expecting the race is likely to be held on a scheduled date.
That's great. Will it also be held as planned for the foreign participants? So do you expect any troubles there?
Sorry?
Do you expect that there will be problems for people coming from abroad to South Korea?
Not sure, because at the moment we still have a 14 days quarantine for everyone came from abroad. Yeah. But I think it will be okay in June. I hope. Yeah.
It will be lifted in June, hopefully. Yes. Yeah. Because also some airlines in Asia, like Cathay Pacific and I believe also Singapore Airlines, have already announced that they will resume flights to Seoul in middle of June. So that would be just in time for the event. Same question as I just mentioned to Sami. What about late registrations? Is that possible for your event?
Actually, we have extended the registration until the end of May. And later then, I'm not sure, but maybe there will be possible a few slots until June, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's very good news. What can you tell us a little bit more about the new race category, the 100K?
Yeah, this year we have a new 100K course. It only has 5,600 elevation gain. So compared to 50K, which gains 3,300 elevation, I think it's quite reasonable course to finish. So if you already finished 50K, I recommend you to try 100K. Yeah.
Especially those runners who are aiming for the Grandmaster Quest in Asia Trail Master, then, because they should, of course, aim for the 100K. But the elite runners for Asia Trail Master, for the championship, they should, of course, still focus on the 50 kilometers, which is this year, I believe, 56 kilometers, right? Or
yeah, 56, yes.
56 kilometers. So the elite runners should focus on that because they're the championship race. But those runners who go for the Grandmaster Quest, they can try out the new one, the 100K of the event in Dungdo Cheon. Thank you very much, Jay, for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Seoul.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that was Jay Jiang from Korea 50K. With more good news. So we have 2 events and they're still going on as scheduled so far. So that's a good start of this show. Let's move now to that number 3, and that's the Cordillera Mountain Ultra. The Cordillera Mountain Ultra has also been postponed from the beginning of March to actually the same weekend as Korea 50K. Let's find out now from the event director himself, Mr. JP Alipio, if he has some good news as well. JP.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hey, Chris.
You're calling in from Baguio, I presume, or?
Yeah, from La Trinidad, the next town to Baguio.
Yeah, but in the Cordillera nonetheless.
Yes.
JP, Cordillera Mountain Ultra has risen to become one of the most popular races in ATM. So I'm sure a lot of people are very curious to find out whether the race will go ahead or not.
Right. At the moment, things are changing every day, so we still can't make a proper decision. But currently, with the situation in the Philippines and the lack of basically transport and blocking in between towns, it's looking like we might need to cancel it for this year. That's not yet something that we've decided on, but with all of the travel restrictions around, and there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, things are changing every single day. Situation changes every single day. And even though where we are right now has very few cases of the virus, it's really, I mean, just getting here is already a struggle for, I mean, even Filipinos. It'll be definitely a struggle to just get to Baguio, and for sure, foreigners won't be able to come. At this point, we have about 30% of the field are foreign runners, and that makes things very difficult for us in terms of looking at participation. So it's looking more and more like we may need to cancel it for 2020 and move everybody to 2021.
That's sad to hear, JP. I believe Philippines is in a total lockdown as well, right, at the moment?
Only Luzon, and at this point, only certain areas of Luzon. So Manila, this area is still in a total lockdown, but other parts of the Philippines are actually open now, are starting to open. But it really depends on what happens in the next couple of weeks, how much testing is done, and there's just not enough data for us to make a proper decision at the moment.
And a second postponement is not something you would imagine?
No, it wasn't something I imagined when we postponed in February. And I mean, at this point, the safest would be to cancel it for 2020 and defer all the participants to 2021. and just so to have everything is stable, flights are back, transport in between all the towns is also back. It's very difficult. We also need to consider, because of the social distancing rules, we have to redo our management plans. So we need to redesign the race so that we'd have enough social distancing as well as sanitation and health. We do all of this on a regular basis, but with the virus, we need to sort of change the way we manage the race. There may not be a mass start. That's one of the things we're looking at. It might be more like a time trial type of race. There'll be less.
You mean next year now?
Yeah, for next year, and those are the things we're looking at in terms of adapting to this current situation that we're in.
So you're expecting actually a longer term issue in the Cordillera or in the Philippines?
Sorry, what is that?
You're basically now imagining a long-term issue. If you're talking about maybe changing the format into a time trial.
Yeah, we're going towards that direction, and basically looking at the world situation, it doesn't seem like the virus will be completely eliminated in the next few months. There's going to be ups and downs. And if we change to more like a time trial, I was at the Dragon's Back last year, and that was the format of the race. And that's something that we're looking at adapting for 2020. Of course, it takes away a little bit of the competitiveness since, people can't really compete head to head. But
the time trial is actually more honest in a way, right? So
yep. They will see each other on the course. It's just we just need to be able to manage the aid stations, the number of people at the aid stations. There might be a little less aid stations as well, just so we don't have clustering in certain areas. So these are the things we're looking at. Also, maybe online race briefings and things like this, just to adapt to this new situation.
I guess indeed, because Cordillera Mountain Ultra also takes place in small mountain communities, right? And basically almost all the runners are staying in guest houses, which gives it a very authentic feel, and it's one of the key attraction items of CMU. But I guess also the guest house owners are maybe at the moment not very keen on accepting foreigners.
Yes, definitely. That's one of the reasons we postponed in February. And they weren't keen on accepting foreigners, and it pretty much blew up in the last few months, and for sure they won't be keen coming into the new dates till this whole situation stabilizes. And our only issue really now is that the CMU has become a little bit of an economic driver for these communities, and without us and without the regular tourism, there's really no jobs in these communities. So we'll probably have to look for a way to help support the communities living in these areas.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, JP, for
thank you, Chris,
for joining us this evening. And sadly, CMU will apparently then be cancelled. But we're definitely looking forward to being back in 2021. Yeah. Take care, JP.
Thank you.
All right, that was JP Alipio from Luzon, so from La Trinidad, one of the towns in the Cordillera Mountains in Luzon, north of Manila. And from Luzon, we go to Mindanao, where we'll be now chatting with the organizer of MUSPO Ultra 50. That is a new event on the Asia Trail Master calendar, which is scheduled for the weekend of 18 and 19 of July. And onto the screen, we bring on Philippe Anthony, who is the event director of MUSPO Ultra. Philippe Anthony, how are you doing?
Sir, it's okay, sir. It's good to be here, to be one of your guests.
Yeah, you're welcome, Philippe Anthony. It's an introduction as well to you as event director, because as I just mentioned, this is a new event on our calendar. But the big question, of course, now is, can it take place or not?
For now, there is a executive order that posted by the local LGU here in Valencia City that all activities are will be moved into September.
Mm-hmm.
And we are saddened because the race will be held in July. So that's our problem because we cannot publish or implement the MUSPO this year. So because of the COVID situation also in the Philippines. And as of this moment, Sir Chris, we don't have the exact timetable for the event to push through, since there's no vaccine and we cannot compromise the safety of everybody.
Right.
And yeah, and this is the first time to implement the 80K race, so we cannot compromise it.
Right. So because, as you're saying, so there is a government order to cancel or postpone all the events in Mindanao until September at least, right? So, but if I understand correctly, you would not consider a postponement. You would immediately look towards 2021. Is that correct?
Maybe maybe this week we will make an official statement regarding on the event, and we will set also a meeting for the tourism officer, so we can decide, so that we can decide if we push to this year or we will move to other schedule. But then as long as the virus is still here, so we cannot promise to implement this year.
Correct. Yeah, that is, of course, very logic. Philip Anthony, all right. Can you maybe just briefly say a little bit more about MUSPO 50? What kind of race is it? What kind of terrain?
Okay. MUSPO Ultra is one of the first ATK race in Bukidnon, and also a member of UTMB and ATRA, and Asia Trail Master. And also in partnership with Hoka One One, one of our shoe partner in Asia Trail Master. And MUSPO Ultra is organized by Tri Mountains, and basically based in Bukidnon, and which will be held in Valencia City and between Maramag. So there are two LGUs connected with this event, and we are proud to say that MUSPO Ultra is the easiest and the simplest trail in the country. Which member of which the easiest and the simplest from other members of the Asia Trail Master. And we have
because earlier, if I may interrupt, earlier this year we had one candidate race in Bukidnon, the Kalatungan Ultra, and that one was not so easy, right?
Yes, MUSPO Ultra is different from Kalatungan. Kalatungan is more it's more difficult than MUSPO, and only the elevation gain of this is around 3.7. And the highest point is 1,150 meters above sea level. And MUSPO, we have 3 more categories: 50K, 30K, and 10K for the newbie. So,
but of course, for the championship, it's the 50 miles that matters.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And Sir Chris, MUSPO, we call MUSPO a baby trail because the simplest among others, right? So we call it baby trail compared to the other members.
But baby trail, of course, only relates to the terrain and to the elevation. But if you run fast, it can be a very tough race as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But okay, the message is clear. MUSPO 50 is a race for the faster trail runners, or maybe even road runners who want to convert to trail.
Yes.
If I understand correctly. Okay, Philip, Anthony, thank you very much for your contribution this evening. So we will be awaiting news from your event in the next couple of days, as you mentioned, to find out if MUSPO 50 can take place this July. Or whether it will be postponed to later in the year or maybe even next year. Thank you very much, Philip, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, then we move to the fifth event on our calendar, and that is a big one. At least it's considered one of the biggest races in Southeast Asia, and that is Cameron Ultra in Malaysia. And we hope to be chatting with Hadsemi Hamidi from the event management team of CULTRA. But at the moment, I see that his webcam is off, and I don't know if he can hear us. We have had some issues before with this webcam. Hadsemi, can you hear us?
Yep, clear. Can you see me?
We cannot see you, but we can hear you. So, okay. Maybe you can just, I will put the logo also back on so that people don't look at an empty screen. Hadsemi, we cannot see you, but we can hear you. So can you maybe please explain to us a little bit more about Cameron Ultra for the 25th of July? Of course, keen observers have already found out on Friday that the event will be cancelled, correct?
Yep. All right. Thank you, Chris. By the way, thank you for the airtime.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Right. So we have to come up to a very sad decision, which is we have to cancel CULTRA 2020. Okay. Break of this virus. I mean, right now, the current situation in Asia, we can see that actually the curve has been flattened actually for the past 2 weeks, but then this is mostly due to the restriction of movement. But in terms of border lockdown is still happening. Means foreigners are still not allowed to enter Malaysia, and as of now, there's no clear guidelines from the government or the relevant authorities, especially on how to conduct any mass event gathering. As of now, it is not allowed. I mean, it's very limited to a very small number of groupings. Mm-hmm. And by tomorrow, actually, the restriction will be slightly lifted on certain activities. For example, like joggings are allowed now, but of course with a small number of groups. That's the current update right now from Malaysia. So there is no definite answer, or there's no definite timeline given by the authority on when this will be over, on when this social distancing rule will actually be eliminated. So because of that, I mean, we have to make a very hard decision to call it off for this year.
Right. Yeah. So there is no chance for any postponement neither.
We have to strike out on that option because if looking at the current situation, we will have to stick to social distancing for quite some time, at least until the vaccine is found and is made available. So for now, we have to leave that. So, I mean, we have read few comments from experts that can say this thing can last from up to 1 to 2 years. So, I mean, even in 2021, the risk is still there. And I believe that there'll be a new standard of procedures or SOP from the government or from the authorities on how you're going to handle mass gathering in the future, right?
Yeah.
At least in 2021. And as an organizer, we have to be adhere, or we have to be aware on this SOP and how we can actually follow to these procedures, which is yet to be defined, right? So I mean, we have to be sure that these SOPs are practical to be implemented in mass event gathering. Right.
Because indeed, CULTRA is a mass gathering, right? I mean, you have several thousands of participants as well, just like Dalat we mentioned earlier, and also Korea.
So for us, it's like if it's compulsory for social distancing to be implemented, so as for me, I think that's almost impossible for a mass events like CULTRA.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the event has been cancelled. What does that mean for all the many participants who have already signed up? Because you, of course, have a very big registration amount.
Yeah, it's a big blow for us. So what we do is actually we make a partial refund, right, to all the participants. Plus, we are also, I mean, we know that it's difficult to be registered in CULTRA because the moment we open, I mean, in a few hours' time, it will just be full, and then you have to go through balloting, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna eliminate this process for next year, so that whoever that have registered in 2020 will be given the priority to participate again in 2021 with a returning discount.
Okay.
And also, we're still keeping in touch with the sponsors. I mean, because of this cancellation, I mean, we don't blame the sponsors when they're not able to support us, especially on sponsoring this event, right? I mean that's totally makes sense because sponsors, they have also other commitments that they have to fulfill on their side. So we are hoping that we can move this partnership to next year. I mean, this include you as well, ATM. So we are hoping that we can make this partnership to be continued again.
Absolutely.
Next year, even though we failed to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Cameron Ultra would have been the first time, of course, that it would be a championship points race in ATM. But for sure, I mean, because you're not the only one, of course, neither. Cameron Ultra will, of course, stay in ATM 2021. So that is for sure.
Yeah, because we were really looking forward, because for the first time we are going to work together.
Yeah, and I believe it was also the 5th anniversary, correct?
Supposedly.
So that is all now deferred to next year. I guess also the same time, end of July?
Our target remains tentative. Okay, I dare not to say that this will be our official date, but tentatively we will try to make it 3rd week of July.
Which I hope. July.
I mean that calendar is a good timing for ATM as well.
Normally, yes, it depends also a little bit on MUSPO, but normally, as it was this year, it was actually perfect. Okay. All right, Hadzemi, unfortunately, we have not been able to see you, but at least we could hear you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And we'll be looking forward very much to having Cameron Ultra on the calendar next year.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Okay, so that was it for the 5 events that are, first on our calendar. So we started off with some very good news that both Dalat Ultra Trail and Korea 50K are still pushing on and are scheduled to take place as planned. That is for 21st of June in the case of Vietnam, and 1 week later will be Korea 50K. Unfortunately, then we had some negative news coming from Philippines. Both Cordillera Mountain Ultra and MUSPO 50 cannot be held. CMU will immediately cancel and will move to next year, whereas MUSPO 50 leaves the door a little bit open for a potential postponement to later in the year. This all depends on government decisions. And then, as we just heard as well, Cameron Ultra in Malaysia has also decided to cancel the event for this year in the wake of the COVID-19 crisis. A couple of, well, basically last week we also decided to have a little mystery guest game as preparation for this first episode of Tale of the Trail. And quite a few people guessed the identity of our mystery guest correctly after the fourth clue that we gave. And the mystery guest is none other than Kim Matthews, the 2017 Asia Trailmaster champion, who is also joining us now this evening. Kim, hello.
Hello. Hi, Chris.
I'm sure a lot of people are wondering how you're doing, because the last time we saw you was in Dalat Ultra Trail, a race you won in March 2018, but also left with that hip injury again. What has happened since? How are you doing?
Since Dalat, I had to take a few months off after that race. No running at all to try and get the hip right, working closely with the physio, trying to just strengthen up all the muscles around that region. And for the last 6 months, I've been able to slowly start increasing my running again, getting back into some sort of routine, which has been really good. And so now I'm probably not quite back where I was, but I'd say I'm about 80% of the way. So I'm feeling really good about things, and I'm really keen to get back into running races again soon.
Okay, that sounds great. Kim, that hip injury, what was it exactly?
I still don't know. No one's ever been able to give me a definitive diagnosis. Something in the middle of the hip glute region was just tightening up and would not release. I've tried 1,000 different therapies, and all it needed was time, I guess. And now I'm trying to take things very slowly, not push it too hard so I don't re-aggravate the injury.
Well, there's no races in Hong Kong neither at the moment, so I guess it just stays with training. But do you already have a plan for a return to competition?
Not really. It's hard to make a plan when we're not really sure what's going to happen with races in the future. I did join one race about 2 months ago, a very short race, just to see how my hip would hold up, and it did really well. So I was happy with that, and I was hoping to start increasing the distance of the races over the next few months. But now with things the way they're not really sure how it's going to go. But once races do open up again, I'm hoping to get back into it. Okay,
that's wonderful. As you might know, there's even a new race in Hong Kong, also on the ATM calendar. That's the Lantau 70, which, given the cancellation of Nine Dragons, of course, is also a new super trail for Hong Kong. Lantau 70, is that the kind of race you would be looking at, 70 kilometers?
70 would be great. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel in October. I think the race is. At the moment, I don't think I could run 70, but hopefully come October, I'd be ready to do something like that, definitely.
Okay. Kim, you're one of the most successful runners in our series since the beginning. In total, you have scored 7 race wins. I think there's only 2 people who have scored more, and that's Tahira and Ruf. And last year, Veronika Vadovichova tied with you with 7 race wins. So Asia Trailmaster, is that still an objective for you going forward? Let's say next year, maybe?
Oh, yeah, it's hard to know what's going to happen next year. We definitely love to do more races on the Asia Trailmaster circuit, because I think there are some fantastic races and places out there that I'd love to explore. As for going for the championship, it depends, I guess, on who else is entering. It really depends on the field each given year. But yeah, who knows? It's definitely not a closed door.
Okay, wonderful. Kim, the winner of our mystery guest competition, has also been given the chance to ask a question to you. That winner, of course, was Levin Sim from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. He was quickest in guessing your identity after we gave the 4th clue. And he came up with a question which was relating to your training habits, correct? His question is basically, how do you train for your races? For example, monthly mileage. How much do you do long, slow distance training, and how often do you do interval training? Can you enlighten us a little bit more?
Sure. It's been a long time since I've had a consistent training plan for races. At the moment, what I'm doing is I'm running 6 days a week, and on the 7th day I usually go out for a hike, because there's so many great places to hike here in Hong Kong. I don't really have a goal for monthly mileage. My weekly mileage, I guess, is up to about 120 Ks a week. I'm hoping to extend that a little bit more over the next few months. Long runs, I like to do back-to-back long runs on the weekend. So on Saturday, I might go out for, say, up to 40 kilometers on the trail. And then on Sunday, I'll back it up with maybe 30 kilometers or so. Interval training, I haven't got back into just yet. I'm really just focusing on the endurance, the strength, and getting some elevation in. Interval and speed work is probably the last thing I really need to add to my training. And hopefully, once I'm confident enough that I can do it, I'll get back into doing maybe 1 or 2 speed work sessions per week.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You're still based in Hong Kong. Are you planning to stay there for a longer time?
Yeah, well, we never really know what life's going to throw at us. We tend to just move around where the jobs come up. At the moment, we are happy to stay in Hong Kong. I really love it here, especially all the trails we have access to here. It's just amazing. But who knows? I don't want to say we'll definitely stay here because you never know what's going to come around the corner.
Exactly, because since you started running in our series, you actually lived in Thailand, you lived in Vietnam, and now you're in Hong Kong. All right, yes. Kim, thank you very much for joining us, and I definitely, and the whole Asia Trail Master community wishes you all the best, and is looking forward to seeing you back in action.
Thank you very much, Chris.
All right, cheers. That was Kim Matthews, the 2017 Asia Trail Master champion, who has shared some good news with us. She is back in training, and her hip injury is finally on the way of getting resolved entirely. And as such, we have come to the end of our first episode of Tale of the Trail. I can see we have run a little bit over time, but not that much. Thank you very much for watching. All that remains to be said is a happy birthday to another champion of ours, to Alessandro Sherpa, who today is celebrating his birthday in quarantine in Singapore. Buon compleanno, Alessandro. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with the second episode of Tale of the Trail in 2 weeks with new guests and new stories.